If I could use a sentence to sum up how fast you should drive on the driving test in the UK, it would be: drive at a safe speed whilst making the most of the speed limit when you can. But as this is a video and not a sentence, I'm going to go into more detail. During your driving test, your examiner has 3 different boxes they can tick when it comes to your speed. If you get a mark under appropriate speed, that means you're going too slow. If you get a mark under use of speed, that means you're going too fast. And if you get a mark under approach speed, which is under the subheading of junctions, that means you were either going too slow or too quick as you were approaching a junction. All 3 of those boxes can either be marked as a minor, which in itself is not a fail, a serious, which is a fail, or a dangerous. And a dangerous is also a fail, but it just means the examiner has had to intervene. Oh, and I used the word minor. The official term for minor is driving fault, but I still use the word minor because that's what I find people understand. And I like to use language that people understand as opposed to official terminology where I have to explain myself. But now I'm explaining myself anyway. But anyway, minor and driver fault, same thing. That's how the examiners mark the driving test, but what's too fast and what's too slow? I'm in an urban area right now, so I'm going to do some driving and I'm going to demonstrate how fast you should go. This road has a 30 mph limit, so I'm going to try and stay as close to 30 as I can when I can see it's safe and clear. I'm slowing down a little bit now, moving over to the right a bit because I can see pedestrians on the left and I want to make sure I can stop if they do step out from behind that car. But now it's clear. I'm going to try and keep it as close to 30 as I can. I've never had anyone get a minor mark on a test for doing 28 or 29 in a 30. If you start going much below that, you'll start to get minors. If you stay there all the time, then that can become a fail. And I've not had anyone fail for doing 31 or 32 in a 30, as long as they've not been there for long and brought it back down to 30 fairly quickly. I'm in a 40 now, so I'm speeding up to 40 mph. Going to go up into top gear, and now I'm going to use the cruise control. I'm going to set it with the buttons on the end of the indicator stalk. Green light on means it's on. I'm asking for 40 and it's keeping me at 40. That allows me to keep my eyes on the road and not have to keep looking at the speedo and adjust my speed. It helps with driver fatigue, but it also helps you stay safe, if I can say that correctly, because you can keep your eye on the road. I slowed down for the bend just by pressing the brake. That's how you turn it off. I'm slowing it down now because there is a 30 down into a lower gear to help me with this 30. Actually, even lower third will help on this hill. And now I'm going to try and keep it as close to 30 as I can. Looks like the silver car is waiting for me, so I don't need to slow down. A little bit of gas as I'm doing 27 there, 29. Say thank you to the car. 30, and now I'm braking again because there's a bend. I need to slow down for that bend, but it is a 20 here as well, so I need to slow down for the speed limit as well as the bend. And now I'm in a 20. I'll try and keep it as close to 20 as I can. If it's 18 or 19, that's okay, but I'll still try and stay close to 20. But by all means, if you feel you need to slow down for a hazard, slow down for the hazard. Go as slow as you need to feel safe. Do not feel you have to be doing the speed limit all the time. That is not safe. Sometimes you need to go much lower than the speed limit to be safe and avoid the hazards. But when it is open and clear, then try to make the most of the limit you're allowed to use. You can use cruise control on the driving test in the UK. In fact, it's part of the DVSA's Learning to Drive syllabus for a Category B vehicle, which is a car or a light van. What's good about cruise control is you can focus on the road. You don't have to keep glancing at that speedo, meaning you're more aware of what's ahead. You should still be aware of your speed, but you can look ahead more. Also, you don't have to keep regulating that gas pedal, so that reduces driver fatigue, and it can increase fuel economy because a car traveling at a constant speed is going to use less fuel than a car that's constantly speeding up and slowing down. There is a disadvantage with cruise control, particularly for learners. I don't recommend it from an early stage because you need to build up the skill of being able to regulate the car's speed with the gas and maintaining the car's speed with the gas. But once you're good at that and you have cruise control, if it's fitted, that's why you need to get good at that, because not all cars have cruise control, you can use it and it can be helpful. Here is an example of a road where I'm not going to be doing the speed limit. I'm probably not going to get close to the speed limit. It's a 30 mph speed limit, but there's cars on both sides. I can't often see very far, and I'm close to the cars on both sides. And I should drive at a speed where if one of the doors opens, I can deal with it. Or if someone steps out from between one of these cars, I'm slow enough to deal with it. A rule of thumb is that if you're within half a door's width or half a metre of the parked cars, not quite that close at the moment, but if you're closer than that, you should be doing less than 10 miles an hour. And a golden rule is that you should always be able to stop within the distance you see to be clear. I can't see anything around this bend, so I'm going to do this very slowly. Also going to give this other driver plenty of room to finish their manoeuvre. Just coming around the bend now, slowly. You can see down the road now, so I can continue. Your driving examiner is going to judge your speed based on how they feel. Do they feel you're being safe? Or do they feel that you're going a bit fast and risking having to brake hard, or risking other people having to brake hard for you? Do they feel that you're going so fast that you may be dangerous? If you're doing 30 miles an hour on roads like this with all these parked cars that are close together and you can't often see very far, they will most likely fail you. In fact, I'm sure they won't only fail you, but they'll probably terminate the test as well, as they don't feel it's safe to carry on. I'm currently only doing about 20 through here, so if a door opens or someone steps out, I'm ready. The most common reason why my pupils fail their driving test is for going too slow. And it's not because I teach them to go too slow, it's because they're worried about failing the test. So they go slow as they're worried about putting a foot wrong. They're treading on eggshells, as I am now. I'm doing 20 in this 30 zone, yet I've got a really nice clear road ahead of me. You wouldn't fail straight away for doing a speed like this on this road, but if you keep doing this speed, you will fail eventually. How slow you can go before you fail your driving test is down to the examiner. As I said earlier, they base it off of how they feel. And the further you are away from what they deem is safe and sensible, and also legal, the sooner they will fail you. Here's an example. You're on a 30 road. The examiner feels it's safe to do 30, there's no hazards, and it's open, it's a nice clear road, but you're doing 25. You're not going to fail straight away. In fact, the examiner's going to let you off for a long time. They're going to start giving you minus, but if you did that throughout the whole test, you will most likely fail before the test ends. Let's take the same road now. 30, the examiner feels it's safe to do 30, but you're doing 10. That's 20 miles per hour under the speed limit. They're not going to fail you straight away again, but they're not going to give you long. And how long they give you depends on how your driving's been so far. So if you've been generally up to speed, they're most likely going to give you the benefit of a doubt and think, oh, this person's just nervous, give you a bit more time to get your head in gear and then see if you get going again. But if you've generally been slow throughout the test, it's just confirmation that they need to fail you for appropriate speed. So they'll probably tick that appropriate speed serious box to fail you a bit sooner. But they do take the bigger picture into account when it comes to assessing your speed on test. However, there are small moments that could fail you straight away. For example, if you did 40 and a 30, you would fail straight away. And if the examiner thinks that you think the speed limit is different to what it actually is, again, they would fail you straight away, because it's your responsibility to know the speed limit of the road you are on. To judge the speed limit, you need to understand the street lamp rule. There's street lamps on this road. That means it's 30 unless signs say otherwise. This road has no street lamps, but it's still 30, and I know that because there's little signs to remind me that it's 30. The little speed limit signs are reminders and the larger ones are changes in speed limit. There you go, another reminder here on the left to remind me that it's 30, despite the fact there's no street lamps. However, this road has no reminder speed limit signs and no street lamps. So that means it's the national speed limit. And for a single carriageway road like this one, in a car, that's 60 miles per hour. The national speed limit does vary depending on what type of vehicle you're driving. I'm just about to come into a 30 now, which is why there's a big speed limit sign, because it's a change. I'm changing from national to 30. There's no street lamps here, so there should be reminders. Here we go, and there's one up there. You probably can't see it on camera yet. It's after the tractor. I'll wait till we get there so you can see. Try and keep it closer to the speed limit. Going a bit slow. There you go, 30. If you're not sure of the speed limit because you think you may have missed a sign, many driving instructors advise you do 30 for a while and look for a reminder speed limit sign. If there is a sign, great, you know the limit. If not, assume the street lamp rule. So street lamps means 30 and no street lamps means national. It's good advice because going too slow is better than going too fast, but it's not ideal because you could have been going too slow and you could still fail your driving test for going too slow. The best advice is to try not to miss a speed limit change sign. Generally, they're at junctions before roundabouts, after roundabouts, and near T-junctions. Look out for them when you're near those, because often your mind's going to be on other things, and that's why you miss the speed limit change. Generally, people don't miss the easy ones on a straight road because there's not a lot else going on. That leads me on to how fast you should be driving on national speed limit windy country roads. Well, the key here is to make use of the straights and slow down for the bends. What most new drivers do wrong is after slowing down for the bend, like I just did, they stay slow and they do the speed for the bends on the straights. But no, you need to make use of the straights, accelerate on the straights, but also slow down on the straight as you approach a bend. So I've gone faster, now I'm approaching a bend, I'm slowing back down to an appropriate speed. Follow the golden rule that you must always be able to stop within the distance you see to be clear. Another straight here, so I'm going a bit faster. I'm not accelerating like a bat out of hell. I'm accelerating at a medium rate and braking at a medium rate. Trying to do most of the braking before the bend so that you have better control of the car and you're ready for what could be round that bend. Got good visibility here, doing 50 miles an hour. I wasn't even looking at the speedo, I just looked to tell you. I know I'm not going to reach 60 here, so I can just look out the front window without having to look at the speedo and just do what feels comfortable. And that happened to be 50 there, and here, actually this is a really long straight, so here I might actually get near 60, so I might have to start looking at the speed. I'm doing 56, but I can see a 30 sign coming up, so I'm slowing back down to make sure I'm not over the speed limit when I get to the new zone. It's the same story on national speed limit single track roads. I'm just about to go into a national speed limit here, and I'm going to drive within 60 miles per hour based on how far I can see. I can't see very far at the moment, so I'm not going very fast. But if I get along straight and I can see no one's coming, I will go faster. Like here, I can see quite a lot further, so I can go faster. But I can't see around that bend, so I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to be even slower on bends on single track roads than I would on roads where two cars can easily pass each other, because someone could be coming towards me. And of course I don't want to have a head-on collision, I need to be ready to stop, which is why, although this is a 60 mile an hour road, I'm doing 11 miles per hour. But now I can speed up as my view is improving. A little bit of a straight there, so I can go a bit faster, up to about 37 miles an hour now, or then slow back down again, 34 now. Speeding up again now on this little straight, got to about 39, braking, down into third gear, maybe down into second gear now because it is single track, can't see very far. Nice long straight again, so accelerating out of the bend, on the straight, braking on the straight, double bend here, goes right then left, getting down to a speed where I can stop if someone comes around this bend, which I feel is about this speed, which is 14 miles an hour. Not really looking at the speedo though, I'm just judging it by feel. I want to feel like I can stop if someone comes towards me. You can see really quite far now. Got the tall wild flowers here at the moment because of the time of year. That does reduce your view, but I've got a really good view now. I can go quite a lot faster. I don't want to go too fast here because there's houses and driveways, but there really is nothing here now. Nothing can come from the sides. The white flowers, I believe they're called cow parsley. Get them in the spring on these roads. So there I'm doing over 50 miles an hour on that straight there. Slowing down now because I can't see around this bend. There's a house here as well on the driveway. Down into second gear. And this feels like a comfortable speed. Little bird will get out of the way. Little birds always get out of the way. Crows do too. It's pigeons that don't tend to fly out of the way. You need to slow down for them. If it's safe, slow down to around about 15 miles an hour and a pigeon will always fly away. Above that, you tend to hit them. What's going on here? So the road splits, going slow in case a car comes. There's no road markings. And if there's no road markings on a Y junction like that, it's hard to determine whose priority it is. Technically, if there's no road markings like that, it's no one's priority, so just be ready to give way. Even though I went over 50 miles per hour on that single track road, when I could see it was clear, I could see it was safe to do the speed, you don't have to get to that level of confidence to pass your driving test in the UK. Usually, if you get to around about 40 miles per hour on a road like that, that will be enough for the examiner to feel, yep, that's quick enough on this road. I've never had a pupil get a minor for doing around about 40 on a road like that. But I have had pupils get minors if they've been doing in the mid-30s. They do expect you to push on beyond 30 miles an hour. Once you get to about 40 on those narrow, windy roads, that seems to usually be sufficient for at least the examiners I have observed. The national speed limit I'm about to enter here is a little bit different because it's a much wider road. So on roads like this, you will be expected to go faster than on the narrow, winding country roads. Here, if you get it into the 50s, you should be okay. Of course, it's conditions dependent. If it's foggy or there's heavy rain, you will have to go slower. But here, getting into the 50s is fairly easy, but still slow down for the bends when you need to. So there we go, down to 45 on that bend. I'm accelerating now, already over 50 miles per hour, and I can maintain this higher speed throughout most of the road. However, make sure you keep your eyes open for speed limit changes. I can see a 40 here. The big sign means it's a change. I think the sun has made the red circle fade. There was a red circle around that, but now it's just a white sign. Make sure you get your speed down for the new speed limit before you enter the speed limit. You shouldn't be still doing 45 as you enter a 40 or pass the 40 sign. You should have it at 40 max as you pass the sign. Same when you go into a higher speed limit. You can't start accelerating above the limit when you can see the speed limit sign up ahead. You can only accelerate once you've passed the sign. I'm now coming into a 30, so I'm going down another gear, and I'll make sure I'm at 30 or less by the time I pass these signs. Where most learner drivers go wrong on national speed limit roads is that they want to do the same speed everywhere. They're reluctant to speed up and slow down. At least that's what I've found with people I've taught to drive. So I have to encourage them to accelerate and brake, and that's what you've got to practice doing so that you get the most out of the road. And remember, once you've left the national speed limit road and you're back in a 30 road or a 40 road, your driving should change. That's also usually a problem. Once they're in the spirit of driving on the country roads, they tend to do that in the urban roads. You do have to switch between the two. What about acceleration? How quickly should you accelerate? Well, it won't be appreciated if you try to be a 0 to 30 warrior. That's not going to make your driving examiner feel comfortable on your test. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to accelerate at what I consider to be a leisurely rate, the slower end of what would be expected of you on a nice open road like this one. I do have a stopwatch here, so I'll bring that up. There we go, we have a timer. Let's see how long it takes to get to 30. First gear, handbrake off, no one around, stopwatch ready, let's go. So a nice leisurely rate. That's 10, into second gear, 30, into third gear. I'll tail off the acceleration as I get near 30 to make it smoother and to make sure I don't go over it. And there we go, that's close enough. So 15.4 seconds there. I'll just stop to get to 30 miles per hour at a leisurely rate. But you don't have to do that exactly. Don't try and do 15 seconds to 30. If it was 12 seconds, that's fine. If it was 18 seconds, that's fine. But something like that. Don't try and do it in 2 seconds. What I will do now though, is I'll try and accelerate at what I consider to be the quicker end of what's acceptable. You would do this if you're at a busy junction and there's lots of cars and you have small opportunities. So you need to accelerate a bit faster to take those opportunities. So let's reset this stopwatch. There we go, ready to start. First gear, again, no one's coming at the moment. Ready with the stopwatch, let's go. So I'll get up to about 15 in first, into second, and then use second gear to get to 30 so I can get there a bit quicker. There. So that was 8 seconds to get to 30. I don't think it's a good idea for you to start timing how long it takes you to accelerate. I don't think that's going to help you. I just did that to give you a demonstration of roughly what's expected of you. Try to keep your acceleration appropriate for the situation. So if you're in a residential area, you're going to be accelerating more on the leisurely side of things. But if you're going onto a dual carriageway or pulling out into a fast road, that's when you want to accelerate more quickly. That's when you want to use the lower gears so that you don't have to change gear as often to get up to a high speed, but also so the engine generates more revs. And the more revs you have, generally the more power you have, so the car is able to accelerate more quickly. This is a dual carriageway. And it's not a dual carriageway because there's 2 lanes. There could be 1 lane, there could be 10 lanes. It's a dual carriageway because there is an island or a central reservation, a barrier, separating oncoming traffic. For a car on a dual carriageway, the speed limit is 70, whether the dual carriageway is an A road or an M road being a motorway. A big difference between A roads and M roads for learner drivers is that if you're learning to drive, you can't go on an M road, a motorway, unless you're with a driving instructor. You can't go with a family member if you're being supervised. On your test, if you're on a 70 mile per hour road like we are now, you should try and get close to 70. I'm doing 53 now because I'm stuck in the left lane waiting to move into the right lane to overtake. If there's an opportunity to overtake and it looks fairly easy, try and take it and try and stay as close to 70 as you can when you can. But if the conditions get bad, say it starts raining bad or it's foggy, then you will be going slower. You can use your cruise control. That certainly helps, like I am now. If you're not having to continuously speed up and slow down, that will help you stay at a steady speed. I've had people get minors for being on these roads and staying at 60 miles an hour. On your driving test, your examiner will give you plenty of warning that you're about to leave one of these roads, so don't be afraid to use the overtaking lane if you need to overtake. If you're going to leave soon, you will know about it. But generally on tests, you don't tend to spend too much time on roads like this, simply because the test isn't long enough. If you're stuck at a lower speed, and that's because you're stuck behind the car in front and there's no opportunity to change lane, that's fine. Stay at that speed and keep your distance. Don't drive close to the car in front. And if you think you're about to leave, make sure you're in lane 1, ready to leave. You don't want to have to be diving over at the last moment to take your exit, because that's not safe. In fact, if that's the case, you're better off missing your exit. I've only had pupils get minors doing 60 and a 70 when they've been on a clear open road in good weather, not when they've been in traffic, plenty of cars up ahead, and the overtaking lane also has plenty of cars passing them. What about cyclists? What if you get stuck behind a cyclist? Well, don't panic. Sometimes you can be stuck behind a cyclist for quite a while until there's actually a place for you to go past safely. Only pass the cyclist when it's safe. Don't go past them when it's dangerous because you feel you're holding people up. Give them enough room to fall off their bicycle, and also make sure you don't make oncoming cars slow down for you whilst you're doing that. The examiner will understand if there's no safe place to pass. However, don't follow the cyclist miles back because then you'll never get a safe opportunity. Try and follow the cyclist as close as you can whilst being far enough back that it's safe, so if they fell off, you wouldn't hit them. You may have noticed that your car's speedometer reads a different speed to your sat-nav. This is normal. The sat-nav is actually accurate, or at least when it's working. I had a sat-nav spinning on me the other day, so obviously it wasn't working. But when it's working, the GPS speed on the sat-nav is correct because it has to be for it to work. However, your speedo will normally be showing a higher number. Typically, if your speedo shows you're doing 70, you're probably doing 67. And if your speedo shows you're doing 30, you're probably doing 28. This car is a bit worse than usual. When I'm doing 70 in this, I'm actually only doing 66. I have owned a car that was bob on, my Vauxhall VX220. When I was doing 70 in that, I was actually doing 70, and I've owned two of those and they were both accurate. My other half has a Citroen, and that one's a bit more accurate than usual. When she's doing 70, her actual speed is 68. Car manufacturers do this because they can sell a car that overreads by up to 10%. So most seem to go for a 5 to 7% overread, but they can't sell a car with a speedo that underreads. So they play it safe and they go with a little bit of an overread. Why am I telling you this? Well, if the examiner says you're speeding because your speedo is higher than the limit, you can't say, oh yes, but that's an overread. The sat-nav speed is actually this. Your examiner goes by your speedo speed, so you should too. Well, I hope this video helps when it comes to speed. If you think it does, please give the video a thumbs up and check out the links to Collingwood and Confused.com in the description if you're looking for car insurance. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, Collingwood are there for you because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy, which takes away a big stress from the owner of the car. And at the moment, via the link, there's up to 35% off and a £20 Amazon gift card. If you want to insure your own car, check out the link to Confused.com. With Confused, you fill out one quote form and get loads of quotes back from different insurers to compare who's cheapest. And you can change your car on that quote as many times as you like, which is really handy if you're shopping around for cars because it's an easy way to compare how much it costs to insure different cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel, so thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos, and until the next one, cheerio.